朋友们，大家好。近日，杰弗瑞·萨克斯教授接受知名媒体人塔克·卡尔森的采访，谈到了全球诸多热点问题。通篇看下来，你能明显地感觉到萨克斯教授对当前世界局势发展越来越脱离正常轨道的那种焦灼与愤怒，那种对人类命运的担忧，对改变这一切的无力感。说实话，看完以后感觉心情有些沉重。萨克斯教授他的核心政治理念是反对大国之间的对抗性竞争，主张以多边合作为核心，聚焦全球性问题，比如气候变化和贫困。他倡导美国调整对中俄的政策，从对抗转向合作，共同为全球福祉做出贡献。因为整个采访的时间比较长，谈到的点也很多，我按照内容整理成了几段。我们先来看他的第一段谈话。萨克斯教授认为，现在美国决策层分为三派。第一种代表军工复合体，疯狂叫嚣扩军备战，甚至不惜与中俄打核战争。第二种是呼吁不要再针对俄罗斯，而是集中力量对付中国，为与中国开战做准备。甚至美国海军的战略规划文件里都已明确提到，要准备2027年与中国开战。第三种是放弃战争理念，关注自身经济需求。现在关键的关键就要看美国新政府里哪一派会占上风。
What happens next in Syria?
Well, there'll be continued war, and now the drumbeat is for war with Iran. Anything is possible. Netanyahu dearly wants the U.S. to go in and bomb Iran. Probably some of President Trump's advisors will feel the same. The incoming administration is a mix of old school hardliners and people with a very different perspective. So there will be an internal battle for the heart and soul of the new administration. But there will be some who say, yeah, now's time to carry on the war. Hezbollah and Hamas have been weakened. Syria has fallen. The air defenses are gone. Now we can fly and do in Iran. Of course, all of this is a profound delusion. And that's, I think, really important to understand. We've had 6 wars so far: Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, and Libya. 6 out of the 7 that were on the list shown to Wesley Clark, not one of them has led to stability, to peace even, much less to geopolitical interests being solved. So it's not like we're finding solutions to anything. Yes, it has allowed at unbelievable cost Israel to hold on to the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Golan Heights, and Gaza as if that's some kind of grand strategic aim of the United States or justifiable in the face of international law and nearly global opposition to such thinking. But it doesn't lead to any answers, and there's no way to, quote, defeat Iran. Even if we went in and bombed Iran, Iran has strong allies. Iran has Russia and China as allies. Iran is part of the BRICS. Iran has a military relationship with Russia. Of course, we have even crazier people who think we're going to defeat Russia. But Russia has 6,000 nuclear warheads, of which 1,600 are deployed. It has its new hypersonic Oreshnik ballistic missile, which travels at Mach 11. It has other hypersonic weapons. So yes, we have people in the U.S. who, in their mental blindness, think about continued escalation all the way to nuclear Armageddon. They really do. They're very ignorant people, and they're around in high positions. And so when you ask what comes next is whether President Trump can change course. This is the most important question facing the United States. And there are several different factions in Washington right now that are fighting for ultimate say. There's a piece by Mitch McConnell, our octogenarian who is completely living in a delusional past, who has a lead article in Foreign Affairs magazine calling for America to commit to primacy. And he calls for a massive military buildup to get ready for every kind of eventuality with Russia and China. That's the old school, and it remains very powerful. And it's got very powerful interests because it's the biggest business in Washington, about $1.5 trillion of annual spending for the military machine. And Mitch McConnell absolutely represents that. Then there are groups that say, you know, we don't really have any fundamental conflict with Russia, and Russia's no real threat to us, but China's the real threat. So we should end the war in Ukraine, something I completely agree with. But we should do it so that we build up and get ready for the war with China. And this is kind of the middle ground, which is
a war with China.
Well,
a country that manufactures all of our antibiotics.
Everyone is talking about war with China in Washington by 2027. And it's so weird, as if we just are trying to rush headlong into complete destruction. But we have official documents, a Navy strategy saying we must prepare for war with China by 2027. We had a major article in the New York Times, which I actually once upon a time read with interest. But in any event, it was a story about the Pentagon preparing for war with China. And I wrote the reporter, actually. This is another, I know these people for decades. So I wrote the reporter and I said, thank you for writing that story. I was happy to read it now because there'll be no time to read it after the war. We'll all be dead. So I'm glad that we have the story now. And the reporter wrote back to me right away, said, Jeff, the editor, I had put in 3 times that the Pentagon doesn't want this war, but the editor took it out 3 times. And I don't really know why. And I didn't notice that in the hurrying to finish the piece. Do you understand that? You're one of our world's great journalists, a person writing a front page story about war, and she's written 3 times the Pentagon doesn't want it, and the editor takes that out all the time, and she didn't recognize that. That's the New York Times. I don't know even what that means. But
well, that's when you quit. I mean, you can't allow that.
This is so amazing. But yes, there is a group gearing up for war with China. It's unbelievable. Nuclear superpower with a much larger army in their on their shores. I mean, the whole thing is beyond belief. Then there is a group. There actually is a group that says, "Hey, we don't need war with anybody. We're not threatened. The United States is more secure than at any time in history and any time that a country could be secure. We have 2 big oceans. No one can attack us. We have every amount of deterrence. China does not threaten us and could not threaten us. And so what are we talking about war this way? Why are we in war with Russia in Ukraine, and that is a U.S.-Russia war, as everybody should understand. Why are we at war all over the Middle East? And that is a U.S. war. We've got absolutely troops on the ground we have troops on the ground, of course, but we have forces on the ground. They're often CIA or covert. But yes, this is our wars. We're paying for them. We're financing them. We're arming them. We're the intelligence, if you can use that word. Why do we need a war with China? And so there are people who say, hey, why don't we make business, advance technology, actually have some attention to our economic needs, not go bankrupt in the process? And that group is also part of the Trump incoming team. And this is probably the most consequential question that a country could face, is which of these different voices will prevail in this new administration.